Tekking pole vault competition. Ah! This is the part where you take out little cards with numbers on them to rank my pole vaulting skills. Okay. We have to get to a lot of stuff today, alright? I'm actually really excited for this video. This is one I'm really pumped for, okay? A couple of days ago, I did a collab with Brago. You go check it out on his channel. I'll leave a link below. Or I'll use a card. I haven't used cards for links in a while. Here's a card with a link to the video. Really good video. We were talking about, like, the future of Wano, like, just generically, like, stuff that'll come after, how long the arc has left, that kind of stuff, right? Well, during that video, and like a lot of other collabs I've done, and a lot of other videos I've made discussing the end of Wano, you know, what's going to come next in the story, I always throw out the idea, will the Straw Hats go to Mary Geoise? Will they go to Mary Geoise to rescue Sabo, or to rescue Vivi, or to have a confrontation with the Gorosei, right? And that's one of those things that, like, I usually use it as, like, a joke, like Frankie develops a rocket engine and straps it to the Sunny, and they blast off into the sky and land on top of the Red Line, and they come out, and they start fighting the Celestial Dragons. Like, I use it like a joke like that most times, but, like, no, I want to sit down and actually have a video and a discussion about this. Like, are the Straw Hats actually going to go to Mary Geoise? And if that is the direction that Oda wants to take after Wano, how would they even go about getting there, okay? Because this is not a simple thing. This is not just sail up to the Red Port, get on the gondola, arrive at Mary Geoise, find Sabo and Vivi in the dungeons of Pangaea Castle, and get out of Dodge. Like, it is not that simple, okay? So I'm really excited to sit down and just have a discussion about this, all right? So, for all intents and purposes, let's just say Wano concludes. Who wins, who loses, whatever, that doesn't really matter right now. I mean, I guess it kind of matters because if Luffy dies, then he won't be around to go to Mary Geoise. But at any rate, the Straw Hats are sailing away from Wano, all right? It's been a long adventure, a lot of fun, but they're sailing away from Wano. Now, keep in mind, Wano was an isolated country, all right? So the idea of getting, like, newspapers and information from the outside world is pretty difficult to come by. Maybe if they talk to Drake, maybe Drake could give them some information from the outside world because he's a member of SWORD or whatever, but we don't really know how that's going to go, okay? So let's just say they're sailing away, and then that's when they find out, they get, like, a newspaper from the news coup, and they find out that Sabo has purportedly been either, you know, captured by the world government or being killed. All right. Now, I would assume it was, like, killed because the way that the revolutionaries reacted to that news when it was first printed, they were freaking out. Like, Koala was crying. Even, like, a Dragon, who's usually very stern and stoic, was, like, freaking out over that news. So we didn't see what the article said that Morgan's printed, but it was implied it might have been something really sensational to sell as many newspapers as he could. Something like, you know, Sabo, the second in command of the Revolutionary Army, brazenly attacks the Celestial Dragons and is killed by Admiral Green Bull and Fujitora. Something along those lines. The only problem I have with that on why Sabo might not be, like, confirmed to be killed, or, like, you know, the story was written that he was killed, is you'd think that the Revolutionary Army members, like Dragon especially, would have Sabo's Vivara card, you know? Like, Sabo did not give a Vivara card to Luffy. I actually had to go back and check this. Sabo had Luffy's Vivara card made, and then he gave scraps of the paper to each of the Straw Hats so they could keep tabs on Luffy, as well as Sabo took one of Luffy's Vivara cards as well, so Sabo could keep tabs on him. But I don't think Sabo had a Vivara card that he gave to the Straw Hats or anything like that. But if Sabo does in fact have a Vivara card, you'd imagine that Dragon would at least have it. And so that kind of creates a little bit of an issue, because if the story was printed Sabo dies at Mary Geoise, all they would have to do is, like, Dragon would just have to take out his Vivara card and be like, no, he isn't. Morgan's is a damn liar. It's like, we should still go and figure out what's going on, but, like, you'd think they wouldn't be freaking out about it the way that they did. So maybe the story was just he was captured and thrown in the dungeon or something like that, okay? Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what Morgan's printed. It was, you know, if it bleeds, it leads, so it's probably the most sensational story possible, but it doesn't really matter whether it's true or false, okay? Because as soon as Luffy finds out about that story, he's going to have a very strong reaction to it. Remember back at Thriller Bark when Lola first revealed the nature of Vivara cards and how they actually operated and worked and stuff. She was like, you know, it's life paper, it points you in the direction of the person it's made from, but if it's burning and it's, like, you know, getting smaller, that means that person's lifespan is, you know, shortening as well, like they're in danger of dying soon. And after that Lola explained that,
even Luffy was like, hey, I'm a little worried about my brother, sure, but this is his own adventure. I'm sure he'll be fine. Even the other Straw Hats, I think there was even a scene with Sanji who was like, hey, Luffy, if you want us to go and check on your brother, we're fine with that. You know, we don't have to go to Fishman Island right now, right? And Luffy's like, don't worry about it. He has his own adventures. I have my adventures. And Lola also said that when the Vivre card gets bigger, that means, you know, things are returning to normal. I'm sure he'll be fine. He's just in a tough spot right now. Holy crap. Can you imagine the, like, the guilt that Luffy might have? I mean, not just the fact that he tried to save his brother Ace at Marineford and then he died in his arms, but also the fact that, like, Luffy might be, like, thinking back to that moment at Thriller Bark and, like, my God, if I would have just went with my crew back then, we might have been able to save him. We might have been able to save my brother, and we didn't, and I decided not to, and he ended up dying. You know, Luffy has to carry a lot of this stuff with him for the rest of the story, you know, and so if he sees a story about his other brother, Sabo, who he just found out was alive after like over a decade of thinking he was dead, and the story is he was killed at Mary Geoise or he was captured at Mary Geoise or anything bad about Sabo, Luffy is going to be like, no, not again. I am going after my brother. I'm going to make sure that he's okay, all right? I don't care. Even if it's like giving up the One Piece, even if it's like they have the Eternal Pose locked on the next island, and it's like, Luffy, if we don't go to this next island, then that's going to screw up the log pose, and we might not be able to make it to the end of the Grand Line. Actually, you know what I just realized? I don't think they've really used the log pose at all in the New World yet. Like, I know the new log pose was given to Nami by the Minister of the Left, or the Minister of the Right. I think it was the Minister of the Left at Fishman Island, like the 3 compasses for the log pose for the New World, you know, lock onto the islands. But the first island they went to was Punk Hazard, which wasn't even on the log. It was like, okay, we could go to one of 3 islands. Luffy picks the 4th island, because it's Luffy. It makes sense. But then after the Punk Hazard, they went to Dressrosa, which it doesn't really matter if the log post pointed to Dressrosa. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but they were going to go there anyway because of Kinemon and because of Law's plan. So even if the log did not point to Dressrosa, Law would have told them how to get there anyway. And then after Dressrosa, they went to Zou, which isn't an island. It doesn't have a magnetic charge. It's an elephant, so they had to use Beppo's Vivre card to get there. And then after that, they went to Totland to get Sanji back. And then after that, they went to Wano, which once again, I don't think was on the log. I think they were using like Kinemon's Vivre card or like Kinemon's instructions in order to get to Wano. So I don't think they've actually used the log pose at all during the New World yet. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they have. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if Luffy has to screw up their adventure or like the path that they're going to take. I'll tell you what, man, it doesn't even matter if Luffy has to give up finding the One Piece. If the choice Luffy was given was you can either find the One Piece, the greatest treasure in the world, and become the king of the pirates, or you could save your brother Sabo, Luffy's going to pick Sabo's life over the One Piece any day of the freaking week, okay? He doesn't care. He is not going to let another one of his brothers die, especially since he just found out that he was still alive, right? Absolutely. So that's the setup. That's the established reason right there why the Straw Hats are going to Mary Geoise. You could also throw in stuff there with Vivi, because there was probably a story there as well. I don't know if it was in the paper, but it was a story that Garp told Shirahoshi and Neptune when they got back down to Fishman Island. He said something happened to Vivi. We don't know what it is. We don't know if it was even in the paper, but something happened to Vivi. So if it was in the paper that, like, the Princess of Alabasta, Vivi Nefertari, is missing, or the King of Alabasta, Nefertari Cobra, is found dead in his hotel room at the Reverie, you know, if it's any story like that, that also gives them more reason to go to Mary Geoise. It's like, okay, so let's actually break this down, how the Straw Hats would even get to Mary Geoise. All right, so the Straw Hats are all in agreement. I don't think any of them would disagree with Luffy. Luffy's the captain. This is an important thing for him, especially since they all know what happened to Ace. Jinbei especially, because he was there when Ace died. He's just like, yeah, you want to go save your brother? We will back you 110%. Maybe Yamato will be there too at that point, or Carrot, whoever. Anyway, so they backtrack down the New World, and they're heading toward the Red Line, which gives them a lot of time to figure out exactly how they're going to do this. All right, so let's break this down. I say geography is everything as a joke, and it's sort of become a meme on my channel. Like, geography is everything! But do you guys remember the reason why I started that phrase? Like, the origin of that catchphrase, geography is everything. It was in my video that I made on the world government way back in like 2017 when I first started doing One Piece related content on this channel, the origin of geography is everything was Mary Geoise, was the fact that Mary Geoise is positioned on top of the red line, which makes it effectively impervious to invasion from anybody that isn't named Fisher Tiger. And because it's in that location, you can't get a giant army in there. Flying machines don't really exist in One Piece yet. Satellite cannons don't exist in One Piece yet. So they've essentially taken the hill. They are kings of the hill. Already made a King of the Hill reference in the last chapter review, but whatever. It's just like, do I look like I know what an Eam-sama is? You know, exactly, right? So it's like that is the perfect position to have the capital of the world government, their headquarters, and where all the celestial dragons live, okay? Because it is a natural fortress. It is a giant red rock mountain that stretches several thousand feet in the air. We do not know how tall the red line is. We know it goes all the way down 10,000 meters under sea level to reach Fishman Island, but we don't know how high up it goes. I would assume it would be anywhere from 5,000 to 6,000 meters because we know that the White Sea starts at 7,000 meters and the White Sea is 10,000 meters up. I don't think the red line goes that far into where like the White Sea is, but maybe it does, who knows. Anyway, suffice to say, it's thousands of meters high off of sea level, and so that's why, you know, geography is everything. That's why it is everything right then and there, okay? So, the only way to get to Mary Geoise, the only official way to get to Mary Geoise is to go to the red port and get on one of the 4 gondolas, 2 on one side, 2 on the other side of the red line, you know, the Paradise side and the New World side. And we saw this work during Reverie, exactly how the royalty gets to Mary Geoise every 4 years for Reverie, okay? So, unless you have some kind of flying ability like Karasu did, for example, he can turn into a flock of crows, a murder of crows, sorry. Or like an ability with Morley having the power to like mold the earth and she can like go up the red line that way. Unless you have some kind of devil fruit power that allows you to fly or scale the rock walls, or unless you're Fisher Tiger, you're pretty much, you know, you're stuck to taking the gondolas there, okay? So the problem with the red port, though, is that it is guarded by Marine HQ on one side and the G1 base on the other side, all right? So this is how it looks right here on the map, okay? You got the red line right in the center, you got Mary Geoise on top of it, you got the red ports on either side, and then it used to be Marine HQ on the Paradise side and G1 and the New World side. That's, of course, been flipped since the time skip. So now we have G1 on the Paradise side and Marine HQ over there on the New World side. And you can bet your bottom dollar that this entire space right there between G1 and the red port and Marine HQ and the red port, this little space right there, that area is crawling with marine battleships, government ships, maybe Cypher Pole. There might be like a giant gate in the water. Like the gates of justice exist. Now, it wouldn't be on that level, but like, remember in Avatar The Last Airbender, Book 3, when they were invading the Fire Nation, they had those great gates of Azulon. They were like giant metal, like it was like a metal fence that would like rise out of the water like a giant metal net, and it could be lit on fire to protect against invaders. They might have some kind of, you know, protection, some kind of security like that. They might have like mines or like depth charges there. I know we really haven't seen that kind of technology in One Piece, but like Vegapunk invented robots that can fire lasers out of their eyes. So inventing like some depth charges or something, you know, this entire space right there is closely guarded by the Marines. You cannot just sail around the Marine HQ and go into the red port that way. It's just not going to happen. There's Marines everywhere, okay? Probably Den Mushi's surveillance networks, like maybe they have those sea slugs that Big Mom used in her territory. There's going to be some sort of detection system set up there. You can't just sail right up to the red port, okay? Now, we did get to see the red port, and it is an actual port town. It is like a little small port there with buildings, and we see citizens living there. Now, either citizens can like travel to the red port to maybe visit Mary Geoise as like a tourist attraction. Probably cost a lot of money to do that, but either that or like there's citizens that just live on the red port to like maintain the port itself, obviously to make it sure it's like up and running and everything like a regular port town. They might not be allowed to go up to Mary Geoise themselves if you're just a regular citizen or whatever. But suffice to say, let's say
there is infrastructure that's open for that. Like if you're a regular citizen in the One Piece world, you're not a pirate, you're not a revolutionary, you're not anything, and you're just an average Joe who wants to visit the Holy Land, the process for that would probably be you have to go to Marine HQ first, or G1 first, and then go in there, and they'll probably have to fill out some forms, and like it's kind of like I don't know if they still do it with everything going on in the world, but I remember a couple years ago, a while back actually, I was going to DC, Washington DC, the capital of the United States, and I was like, oh, could I take a tour of the White House? And you could, but you had to fill out like a whole thing. You can't just show up at the White House and be like, I'd like to tour, please. It might be something similar with that in the One Piece world. Like you go to Marine HQ and it's like, okay, you want to visit the Holy Land. All right, fill out these forms. How many people are going? What's your purpose of visit? How long are you going to stay? And they'll make sure you're not like trying to burn the place down or anything like that. And then he's like, okay, get on the Marine ship. It'll ferry you to the Red Port, and you'll probably have like a military guard or somebody like to like watch over you the entire time, and then they'll take you on the gondola, take you up to Mary Geoise, see what's going on. There's probably areas you wouldn't be allowed to go visit. You obviously wouldn't be anywhere near the Celestial Dragon City, like the Holy City, but you might be able to go up and just take some pictures of like the forest and Castle Pangea or anything like that. You wouldn't be able to really go anywhere else though, and then they take you back down and they ferry you back to Marine HQ. So I'm just saying, the Straw Hats, the only practical way to go in would be through the Red Port, but I don't think that it's going to be easy. I don't think the Straw Hats are just going to be able... I don't think, like, Luffy's going to be able to throw on a sunflower shirt, a beard, and a hat, and some sunglasses and manage to Lucy his way through this one. I just don't think it's going to happen, okay? Oh, hello there, Marines. Don't mind me, just an average citizen of this world that we live in, not connected to pirates or revolutionaries in any way. I'm just an average old man going about his average business wanting to visit the Red Port. So, if you don't mind, I'll just be right on my way. Holy shit, that's Straw Hat Luffy! Okay. Gear 4! So yeah, I think that's how it would go. Although, I gotta say, it would be pretty damn funny to see the Straw Hats dress up in funny costumes and try to Scooby-Doo their way through the Marine blockade or whatever. And it's like, yeah, we're just average citizens here. Frankie's walking by as a literal cyborg, and he's just like, how do you do? And he just walks by. It would be funny. It would be funny. But I don't think the Straw Hats would be able to go in that way. The only effective way I could see all the Straw Hats, all 10 of them, maybe 11, maybe 12 of them, actually getting to Mary Geoise would be to utilize the Revolutionary Army's connections, which means the Straw Hats would have to work with the revolutionaries. Now, this is perfect. I mean, this is great because Robin has already worked with them before. She was stationed at Baltigo for 2 years. Dragon is obviously Luffy's dad, and while Luffy and Dragon have never met before and they don't really have a connection or like a relationship at all, obviously Dragon does not want his son to die, and he would probably help him out as much as he could. And Dragon would also probably know that if he doesn't help out Luffy, Luffy's going to end up doing something stupid, like try to walk right into the Red Port, and Dragon would be like, no. Okay, listen. We're going to help you guys. We'll work together. We'll get Sabo back. Don't worry about it, right? And then VV2. He's like, yeah, VV2 and all that stuff. Also, when I was making the video with Brago, we brought up the Warlords and how the Warlords might get captured and be brought to Marine HQ or Mary Geoise as well. We went through the list, and personally, I don't think Mihawk and Boa are going to get captured. I think they're just strong enough to resist the Marine presence. At the same time, I don't think that Buggy's going to get captured because I think it's just that's the joke. He's going to get really lucky and manage to squeak away and get by perfectly fine. But when it comes to Weevil, and I know what you might be thinking, like Weevil's like way stronger physically than Boa Hancock or maybe even Mihawk, but also Weevil is really, really stupid. So if any of the Warlords have a chance of actually being captured by the Marines and taken away, it might very well be Weevil just because they might outsmart him, or they might capture his mother, and it's like, if you want your mother back, you gotta come with us, and Weevil's like, okay, and then he just
just goes with them, right? Now, I don't know if that means they would take Weevil all the way up to Mary Geoise or whatever. That just seems like a disaster waiting to happen. Like, yeah, let's lock the Hulk up in the same room, in the same castle we keep Eam, you know? Like, that's a smart idea. But I'm just saying, like, it's possible, like, all this stuff, if Oda was to go along with this, like, after Wano, we're going to go to Mary Geoise, there's a bunch of different plot lines. Revolutionary, Sabo, Vivi, the Warlord being captured, you know, all that stuff could really coalesce in one point. Brago brought up a cool thing during that video where he thinks that Boa Hancock is going to get captured, and she was already at Mary Geoise before. She was held there as a slave against her will when she was a kid with her sisters, and then that would add a whole other paradigm to that where Luffy wants to go save her from that, as well as, like, okay, so save Vivi, save Sabo, and save Boa Hancock at the same time. Like, there's a lot of ways you could see plot threads, like merging here and making it, like, a great thing for the One Piece story of, like, wow, we're finally getting all these connections that we've always had, right? So, let's say, you know, Dragon and Bello Betty and Koala and Ivankov and everybody, all the heavy hitters of the Revolutionary Army are heading toward Mary Geoise to figure out what happened to Sabo. At the same time, the Straw Hats are heading there, and they're trying to figure out some way in order to get into Mary Geoise itself. Luffy would probably want to just do the thing where he's like, let's just break into the place. And thankfully, Nami and Sanji and Usopp, and there's so many more rational people that'd be like, Luffy, you can't do that. You literally cannot do that. It's on top of a giant mountain. Well, I'll climb the mountain then. And then Jinbei would be in the background and be like, well, Fisher Tiger did do that once. Luffy's like, see, I could do it. It's like, no, Luffy, I didn't mean for you to try, you know? But that would actually be cool, too, for Jinbei to tell the story of Fisher Tiger scaling the Grand Line. Scaling the Red Line. He scaled the Grand Line and he scaled the Red Line. He scaled both of them, right? Fisher Tiger was a badass. But my point is, like, Luffy's just going to want to charge in. The Straw Hats are going to want to, like, dock their ship somewhere quiet and try to just figure out how to even get to the Red Port, right, without being detected. And maybe the revolutionaries meet up with them at that same place and they work together. And they could use, well, here's the thing. I would say Karasu's ability or Morley's ability or even Lindbergh creating some sort of device in order to get them up there. But the problem is all of them were at Mary Geoise when Sabo was apparently killed / captured / whatever, right? So does that mean they managed to escape? I would like to think that maybe some of them were able to escape, like at least Karasu. Karasu with his Devil Fruit being able to turn into a murder of crows probably has the best shot of just escaping Mary Geoise and just flying away. Lindbergh has his jetpack. Morley has her ability, the push fruit in order to get out of there. So I guess Morley could have also escaped. But I think the one that makes the most sense is Karasu. And also, as long as Karasu managed to get away and rendezvous with the revolutionaries, Karasu, we've seen people fly on the back of Karasu's crows before. That's how Sabo left Dressrosa. So it'd actually be really cool if Karasu was like, okay, you know, Sabo's been captured, we have to go save him. And then so Karasu transforms into a murder of crows, and each of the Straw Hats get on the crows. Dragon, Koala, Ivankov, Inazuma, they all get on the back and they fly up to Mary Geoise itself. That's one way I think that this could work, okay? Option number 2 on getting to Mary Geoise. The surrounding area of the Red Ports are the same environment, the same climate as the Sabaody Archipelago, meaning there are bubbles there. And we see the bubbles at the New Marine HQ, and we see the bubbles at the Red Port. We see the mangrove trees are growing there the same way they do at the Sabaody Archipelago. Now, an interesting thing with the climate at the archipelago that we learned is that the bubbles exist in this little space. And, you know, they have those bonchari things. They have those little bicycles that you can run around, and they have the bubbles and you can fly and stuff. However, the bubbles will pop once you leave the climate of the island. So the question is, if the entire climate of that area red line is within the bubble climate, then you might, in theory, be able to just grab one of the bubbles and fly up all the way to the top of the red line, because that's what the Bondolas do. The Bondolas have a bubble that is the main source of propulsion. Now, it might be some type of, like, reinforced bubble. It's not like a regular bubble that just comes out of the ground that you can just jump on and just fly all the way up to the Mary Geoise or whatever, but the capabilities, the possibility for it exists. And if the capabilities exist, Frankie could make it work. Frankie could do it. Frankie could see the fact that, because he's already done that once before when they were at Fishman Island, which under the water also the bubble climate exists. So the Straw Hats added, like, they basically turned the Thousand Sunny into like a blimp. Okay, they turned it into a blimp, and that's how the Thousand Sunny arrived at the plaza to fight against the new Fishman pirates, right? So maybe if it's the similar climate, maybe Frankie could develop some sort of bubble coating technology. Maybe he learned at Fishman Island from Den, or he picked some stuff
stuff up from Rayleigh maybe, and he's like, I could do the same thing we did at Fishman Island, and I can add a bubble to the bottom or the top of the Sunny and allow us to just float all the way up. Now, you obviously would not float directly straight up where the red port was. You'd go off to the side a bit and then float up, and then you'd have to land on the red line and then walk into Mary Geoise that way. I feel like there might also be defenses once you get to the top of Mary Geoise from anybody that like scales the red line at any other location and tries to just invade Mary Geoise from that way. It probably wouldn't be as much security because that would be a very difficult thing to do, but the security on the perimeter of Mary Geoise, the land mass itself, probably also does exist, okay? So that's option 2. Option 3 is the idea that the Straw Hats do go through the red port, and I think that's the biggest stretch there. Although, if the revolutionaries are there to help them out and guide them, because they've done that before, like Sabo was able to infiltrate the red port, they were able to get on the gondolas, and that's how they managed to get up to Mary Geoise. Not all of them. Morley used her ability to get through the wall, and Karasu could fly, but Sabo, dressed as a guard, was able to get in, okay, because Sabo's basically a secret agent. He's like James Bond, so it makes more sense that he would be able to pull that off rather than Luffy. However, if Dragon was there, Dragon could like organize everything. He could be all tactical and stuff with this. It'd be like, okay, Luffy, you can't just run into the red port. You're going to get killed immediately, all right? So here's what we're all going to do. We're all going to infiltrate the red port. You're going to follow my orders. You're going to do what I say. And if you do, then we can get back Sabo. And there could even be a moment between Dragon and Luffy, kind of like, you know, Sabo is your brother. Well, Sabo is like my son. And Luffy's like, but aren't I your son? He's like, yeah, but do we ever really hang out? He's like, good point. Okay. So it'd be a weird kind of dynamic, but you can understand the way that Dragon could go about it, right? And Luffy might actually be like, okay, Dad, Dragon, whatever, however weird that is to say that, to call you Dad, I'll follow along with whatever you want, right? And it actually got me thinking, like, One Piece has really tackled a bunch of different, like, storytelling elements before. Like, during Impel Down, we had, like, the whole prison break scenario, that trope that's been used plenty of times in movies and television shows, right? Wouldn't it be cool to have like an Ocean's 11 sort of situation? I guess we kind of already had that in Totland, but like a highly organized like raid or infiltration on a really heavily guarded fortress that is Mary Geoise. That would be really cool to have that as well. Even if Karasu, Lindbergh, and Morley don't make an appearance, what if like at least a few of them are still stuck in Mary Geoise in some way? This might actually be a good opportunity to showcase the vice captains of the Revolutionary Army, where we only got to see, well, Hiru is only the one that we've seen that is named. Her name just literally means duck, so she might be related to Kaido, not really sure on that. But she has like a metal prosthetic, her name's Ahiru, and she is the vice captain of the East Army under Bello Betty. But we also saw this dude who is a cow mink that I'm thinking might be the vice captain under Lindbergh from the South Blue. And then we also have this person that looks like Humpty Dumpty, maybe is the vice captain under Morley, I would think. But there's still one of the, either Karasu or Morley or one of them we have yet to see their vice captains for. So that'd be really cool. Like the vice captains are coming together, and then Inazuma is Ivankov's vice captain, for them to all come together to get their commanders back. That'd actually be really interesting, right? There might even be a situation like Dragon might really be tactical with this, where he'd be like, hey, we have a large group here. We have the Revolutionary Army, and it wouldn't be the entirety of the Revolutionary Army, obviously. It would be like a small group of Revolutionary Army members, maybe like up to 10 of them, and then it would be the Straw Hats that number around 10. Well, they number 10 right now. Like Yamato might join at that point, might be around there. Anyway, Dragon might be like, hey, let's split into 2 teams. One team goes to the Red Port in the New World and goes up that way. The other team maybe goes back through Fishman Island and then back into Paradise, goes to the Red Port there, and then goes up on the other side of Mary Geoise to kind of do like a pincer attack, or at least like a backup plan or something. And that would work great, because Fishman Island, you know, that's Luffy's territory, basically. You know, Neptune and Shirahoshi and the Neptune brothers, everybody would obviously help out Luffy with that plan. You'd have to do the timelines a little bit there. Like, you'd have to speed up and be like, okay, they go back to Fishman Island, hello, and then they go back up there. But they've already been there before, so you could probably do that. If you're backtracking already to go back to the red line, you could, why not do this, right?
But anyway, that's basically the 3 ways I could see the Straw Hats reaching Mary Geoise, okay? The first way would be to have Karasu or Morley use their respective abilities to get them up there, to, like, fly or travel through the red line itself. Then the second way would be for Frankie to utilize the bubbles to make some kind of, like, dirigible, basically turning the Thousand Sunny into a Bondola itself to get to the very top. And the third way would be, like, they do infiltrate the Red Port, but they do it in a very Ocean's 11-esque way, led by the revolutionaries. Oh, I guess there is another way on top of the red line, which is the Germa Kingdom, because the Germa are the ones that utilize the slugs, not the slugs, they're snails. They do have shells. They were snails to get to the top of the red line that way. We're actually in the middle of a cover page story right now involving the Germa. Wait a second, this might actually work too. This is another possibility I didn't even consider. I don't know how well Sanji would be happy with this, but if we get this cover page series, and that runs for like the good chunk of the first half of 2022, and then Wano ends maybe somewhere around like the middle part of the year, like, you know, like that's when the arc is finally finished, like not just the fight with Kaido and Big Mom and everything, but like literally everything is over by like maybe June. Maybe if the cover series is done by then we know where the Germa are right now, and then the Germa meet up with the Straw Hats, and then they use the Germa technology to scale the red line. Okay, I doubt that one, but it's another possibility because the Germa do have the way to traverse the red line themselves with their ships, okay? Well, anyway, this is, I think, just going to be the first part of this. I was originally going to make this one video, but this video is already long enough. We're like over a half an hour long at this point, and we've only covered just how they could even possibly get to Mary Geoise. We haven't even discussed, like, what's going to happen, like, with the, like, encountering the Gorosei, the Celestial Dragons, like, how would they rescue them, getting in there? Who would meet Eam? Would Robin have an encounter with Eam? What about Dragon? Like, there's so many other things. What about the Gamu Gamu no Mi? The government really wants the Gamu Gamu no Mi, and like Luffy just wanders into their backyard with the damn thing. Like, there's a lot of other things to cover here. So we'll pick this up in part 2. I'm doing a lot of 2-part videos as of late, but we'll pick this up in part 2. Straw Hats invading Mary Geoise. Thanks for watching, everybody. Tekking and Barry signing out.